All right, so we're going to be talking about our entries into the knees from striking. So that we'll be looking at, we'll have a couple of different options for month 1 and month 2. So we'll get started at what we're looking at on month 1. So first thing I want to talk about is footwork. So from his frame, from his guard stance here, I want to make sure that we're using our angle. So I'm never just stepping straight in for knees. I'm always want to step outside of his framework. So for my right knee, I want to make sure that I'm stepping just outside of his rear leg. For that left knee, I want to step just outside of his lead leg. So we're still using a lot of that triangle footwork that you'll see in a lot of the classes that we're using. So I want to make sure that we're taking a look at that. So one of the ways that you can practice that at home is the same thing that we'll do in regular classes. It's just working that stepping here or stepping offline, working that triangle footwork. Something for you parents that you can do is stand out in front and put your hands at their face level and get them to practice stepping outside of your hands here as you're moving. So I just step to whatever side. So if I'm moving to my right leg moves first. If I'm stepping to my left leg moves first to get my body just outside that line. But again, we're talking about my knees. My leg won't have to step so far as it would in some of the other things because it'll be coming down the center. Making sure, again, we're stepping outside of their frame. All right, so the first knee that we're going to take a look at is going to be off of the straight punch. So we're here in our guard stance, and maybe I wasn't quite close enough to get into where I could tie off of his head. I'm going to shear off of his punch on the outside. So again, for his right punch, right cross, I'm going to step just slightly outside of the line of his rear leg. I'm going to shear off of this line. So it'll shear just outside of his punch. I'm going to lift my body up and I'll latch on here and it'll tie and pull into the knee. So one more time as he goes to punch, I shear and knee. And again, remember I'm always lifting up on my knees. So I'm not leaning back. I'm driving up through the ball of my feet. My knees spike forward. So I want to point my toes back behind me, not downward, and try to touch the bottom of my thigh or my butt with the bottom of my foot. So as he goes to punch, I shear and I get my knee. Same thing off of the left side. I'm going to step to that side, shear this punch. And again, I'm not quite close enough to start pushing towards his head. So this is going to latch here. I lift and there's my knee. So he throws cross, boom. He throws his jab, and here. For our second option off of the straight punch, we're going to be able to enter in a little bit closer. So now, as he throws that straight punch, that straight cross, as I'm moving in, this hand is going to start to push and clear his punch across, and I'm going to reach in towards the back of the neck. So now I'm grabbing into the back of the neck. Again, everything else is the same. I'm still lifting. I'm still stepping off across that line, and I'm going to get this knee. Again, so one more time. I push across and I get my knee. Same thing off of the jab. As I step, I push this across. I come across the back of the neck and I get my knee. So here, I step. That all happens in one motion. So I'm moving off of that line and I'm here. Off of the jab. So we can also start talking a few things for those at the higher level about our framework, about holding my position here where I might cover one hand to make him more likely to feed this line. So I open this hallway for him to throw that cross so I can feed that down that pathway. Same thing, if I want that jab, I'll cover this pathway, open this hallway here. So again, stepping off at the 45 to make sure we're off that line. We'll parry that across, reach through for the neck and knee. Parry this across, reach through for the neck and knee. The third one in the series for this month is going to be off of the wide punch or off of the hook. So this one will be entering in on the inside. So same thing, as he enters, I'm not going to wait until his hook gets all the way here to try to come in. I'm still going to move off that 45 forward to jam in here. I don't want you to think about trying to stop at the arm and grabbing with the hands. I'm actually reaching with my forearms here and then latching my hooks on. So especially with gloves, it's hard to grab here and he can get slippery. So if I reach here in with my forearms first and then latch, I'm gonna be in closer and I'll get that knee. Same thing off the other side. I'm reaching with the forearms, jamming in that space, and I get that knee, but I'm still getting that 45. So I'm in my guard stance. As I see that, I move into that space and get my knee, and same thing on this side, and I get that knee.